Hello, Dan here. Happy holidays. Do you like watching someone talk about comic books on YouTube? Well, you clicked on the right video. I'm going to talk about comic books. It's December 22nd and getting close to Christmas, so Merry Christmas to everyone. I just want to mention up front, I am going to have a Christmas like big unboxing type video coming up soon, so stay tuned for that, probably right around Christmas. And before we get started, I did want to give a quick shout out to another YouTuber that I really dig that I would like to share his channel with you. Still haven't figured out how to put a link into the description. Okay, I'll be honest, I haven't even tried to look into it. But I'm just using my phone and I haven't had a whole lot of extra time to do this kind of stuff. So apologies. But I wanted to shout out a channel called the Hercules Petix Academy of Comic Book Studies. And it's Petix, Petix. So if you search Hercules Petix, I'm sure you'll find it, but the full name of the channel is the Hercules Petix Academy of Comic Book Studies. And I've been watching his channel off and on for a while now. I've actually, probably close to when he first started, but I haven't watched a lot of the videos, although I want to watch them all. They all look great. This guy's got amazing taste in comics, and he does something similar to what Cartoonist Kayfabe did in the sense that he does a daily video. For the most part, I think he's doing about one a day. And sometimes it's just on a single book, and sometimes it's on a whole series or a part of a run. And he just does like a top-down view. You don't ever see what he looks like, but you see the book, and he flips through and basically just goes through the whole book. And I know not everybody likes those kind of videos. You don't want spoilers, but honestly, it's a really cool way to check out comics you maybe otherwise wouldn't have had a chance to look at, get recommendations. Sometimes, if I'll see something on there that looks pretty sweet, I might watch like half the video and then stop it and go, okay, I'm going to get that book for sure. So I really dig his stuff. And like I said, he's got really good taste in comics, and a lot of what he shows off overlaps in my collection as well. So that's cool. Also wanted to give a quick shout out to the Yule Logs. This band is no longer active, but this is a local band from Chico here, and they're a Christmas band. They're friends of mine. Super, super good Christmas rock band. If you like Christmas music and you like a really fun band, I would definitely check them out. You can find them all over the internet for sure. They have a lot of albums. They started in around 2005. I was definitely at their first show. I filmed their first show, and all the guys in the band were in other bands before that that my band had played shows with them and stuff like that. And then I had a band for a while that played with Yule Logs and stuff too. But I have a bunch of their CDs. I just couldn't find any other ones. I just brought out this one, Fezziwig. It's pretty sweet cover art on that one. And this is like pretty much all originals. I think they have one traditional Do You Hear What I Hear, which is great. But they did write a lot of their own original Christmas stuff, which was really awesome. And then a lot of the traditional Christmas songs they do are super fun. A lot of it sounds to be taken from the kind of era of my favorite Christmas music, which is the Phil Spector Christmas album. So I do have some new comics to bust out, and then I have a bunch of stuff that I've read. So I don't know if this is going to be a short or a long video. We'll see how long I feel like talking about this stuff. But I've been working really hard on trying to get this room sorted out so I can just get a better setup. I'm still sitting on like this meditation cushion of my wife's on the floor, and I want to eventually get like an armchair over in that corner. But I have spaces that I need to put shelving first for a lot of the hardcovers and stuff that I haven't any room on these other ones. And then hopefully, have a place I can film while I'm sitting in an actual comfortable seat. But in the meantime, I wanted to try to get all of these long boxes on these bottom two rows fixed up. Basically, they were all alphabetized. These are all things down in these bottom two rows that are things I've already read that don't fall into any of the other categories of this other stuff, which we'll go into later. But I had a lot of comics I had read that needed to get folded into those boxes so they could be alphabetized, and I had to move a lot of boxes around. I think there's I think there's like 27 of these, with counting these 3 that I have here that are going to be going right here. So anyways, oh, I have another Christmas prop here. This is one of my favorite Christmas decorations. Look at that Santa. It's pretty good. My mom had a whole bunch of these. She inherited them with her new house. They came with the new house she got after the fire. The duck's head is gone, unfortunately, but pretty cool. Thought I'd bring that in there since I have a little gap on that shelf. All right, so I got a couple things from eBay. This was all from one seller, and I'm going to shout out Mr. Jared Osborne, because I've been watching a lot of Jared Osborne's videos lately, and I just kind of scroll back through and just randomly click on, because he does like a weekly haul of his new releases, and he showed off a comic that I had never seen before or heard of. That was this Frank Frazetta's Tales of Science Fantasy from a publisher called Opus that I hadn't heard of. And at first I'm like, oh, dude, that is a badass looking shark cover Frazetta painting. That's cool. But what made me decide to go out and order this was the fact that he always, Jared always mentions the credits, and he opened this up and he was like, script Aaron Gregory. And I was like, huh, is that my homie Aaron Gregory? So my friend Aaron John Gregory, I mentioned him on a previous video when I talked about his band Giant Squid. Sam Keith did some cover art for him. And I'm going to actually do a little, it'll be a short video, but I'm going to do a video on Aaron's, some of his art. He's done a lot of art for my band. My band has done splits with his band. And he's just an extremely good artist. And he's not super active in comics, but he did write this, and it makes sense because he had a band called Giant Squid, and all of their songs were about sharks. And then he also had a band called Squalus after that, and all of the lyrics from Squalus is taken from Jaws. So he's obsessed with sharks, and so it does not surprise me that he got involved with this Frazetta story about sharks. Now, he didn't do the art in this. It is Sedat Ozgen. Oh gosh, I'm sorry about that. That is not how you say that, I'm sure of it. But I haven't checked this out yet. I've just kind of flipped through it a little bit. It doesn't look super amazing, but I wanted to support Aaron and buy the comic he was in. It's weird. He came to my show down in the Bay Area a couple months ago, and I asked if he'd been up to anything new and with comics, and he said no. But this was from 23, so July 23. He does work for the Godzilla company now. If you buy a Godzilla comic or trade, and you look in the fine print, it'll say special thanks to Aaron John Gregory. Anyway, this is a variant cover that he did. So that is actually Aaron's art. Super badass. Get in close on that. There's his signature, Aaron John Gregory. And I saw that these were kind of a lot on Lone Star, so I just looked on eBay and I got a set of the first 2. There was only 2 issues. I got both the issues for, I think, $5 a piece, so that's like cover price. And then it was like, get an extra 20% off if you buy 3 or more comics. So I just looked through and just found one thing I needed, which is the last issue of Stitched that I need to complete my whole run of Stitched. So that's pretty wicked. Merry Christmas. Goes with the theme. No. All right. This is just stuff from last Wednesday. Can't even remember what I got. Survive number 4. That's another Bad Idea comic. Can't believe they're up to 4 already on that one. Next, Kaya. So Kaya 32, standalone issue. Kind of perplexing since 31 was a standalone issue. They didn't number it 31. I think that's really going to throw people off, but there it is. Next, Kaya. Sweet World Tree 17. So glad this is still going. Love this series so much. It's such a cool comic. Cul-de-sac number 5 from Bad Idea as well. And this is the second to last issue. So number 6, I think, is the last one, as far as I know. Exquisite Corpses number 8. I didn't think this was coming out this week, but it did. It's that weird little Spider-Man looking top of the head there. Random. Got number 2 of Daredevil and Punisher, the new one. Here's something new I decided to give a try to, called Wrestle Heist. This is by Kyle Starks, so this is actually drawn by Kyle Starks as well, which is cool. It's got a very cartoony style, but it looked pretty fun. You should see what this looks like real fast. So, I'm not all into wrestling or anything like that, but I just think his stuff is really funny. When he does this kind of thing, he writes, I think all of his stuff's got a little humor in it, but this looked fun. So I'll let you guys know how that goes. All right, I think this is the last issue of Good is Dead from the Laphams. So I'm gonna sit down and read this whole thing real soon, and I'll let you guys know how it goes. Superman Kryptonite Spectrum number 5. I think this is the last one. Absolutely love this series. It's a sweet cover. Um, 18 of Sacrificers. That art is so good. Oh, these were just 2 things that I just grabbed back issues from the store. Thrill Killer, number 1 and 2, from Dan Brereton. So I just need to get the 3rd one. So even though I had a weird experience with Dan Brereton last time I saw him, I'm still picking up his stuff when I see it. And then 2 magazine-sized comics. Space Scouts number 2 from Matt Kent and David Rubin from his Flux House imprint. And then the 2nd issue of The Batman Second Night. So that's it for the new stuff. And I read quite a bit of newer comics, and I'm going to just start off with what I think was kind of the best. One of the best new comics I've read in a while was this American Caper. So I'm really glad I actually went back and grabbed this. I had forgot to buy it when it came out. And got the Simon Bisley cover. It's an awesome cover. So this is, I can't remember the thing about the writer. I think this writer is mainly in Hollywood and stuff like that. I think he's just trying to tackle, what's his name? Dan Hauser. So I think he's done a lot of stuff for TV and whatnot. Additional writing by Laszlo, and then the story layouts and pencils are David Lapham. The finishes are by Chris Anderson. Colors by Lee Lowridge. So what I can say right away is that as far as the art is, it does not look like David Lapham, aside from some of the backgrounds, which is kind of cool. Kind of, the old school, breakdowns and finishes kind of thing. So it's not like, even it says penciler, there's breakdowns and pencils. I think maybe he did all the breakdowns, and then he probably penciled the backgrounds, and then left the figures maybe more loose for Chris Anderson to finish, because it does not look like Lapham, but it's a really good style. So this takes place in Verona, Wyoming. And it follows 2 main characters. This guy is the main character right here, and the very beginning, it's just like the 2nd page shows him getting shot. So it kind of works its way back, like what happened. Obviously, he's still alive, so he gets shot. But this guy he's a little pathetic. He's got a gambling addiction. Because of that, he had to take a job. He's a lawyer, and he took a job that he really didn't want to take. And his family kind of sucks, and you'll see why. And then his next door neighbor is this guy who is a Mormon with a huge family and is just all perfect and stuff. But you see the different families right there. He's kind of got like a anarchist punk rock daughter. Wife's got like RBF. Son never stops gaming at all. And then the neighbors are all wholesome. So his wife, here's the neighbor's wife. super hot, and then his wife is just all gross, and she just spends her entire life sitting on the internet looking at news and social media and just toxic things that you shouldn't spend your life sitting around looking at. I don't really look at the news much, and I'm not on any social media, so I get why they're casting this person in this light. So no offense to people who love following the news and social media, but it's just depressing and somewhat of a time suck. So she's just gross and just constantly just snacking and eating sodas, drinking sodas, and he just talks about her right here. He's like, at the moment, we say no. So, well, let's see. My wife Marnie hasn't seen a black person since we left Chicago. I keep all my worries well away from her. She's not a good person. This is bad. He's like, now she spends all her time online drinking up hatred. At the moment, she hates lazy people, what this country has become, uppity black people. She actually said this, and I thought about killing her. Democrats, abortion doctors, idiots, traitors, most Republicans, lots of Jews, most Christians, Muslims, foreigners, Californians, New Yorkers, elitists, the elderly, the young, God, atheists, experts, scientists, artists, and feminists. She just hates everyone. And it's really bad. And it's kind of bled off into her daughter, who is now becoming an activist like this, while she just spends most of her time just sitting around getting high. And the family is just reprehensible people. So his this law firm that he works for basically is super crooked, and they hide money. They hide money. They pretend they don't hide money from the DEA, the CIA, and the FBI. And along with hiding money, they sue the Environmental Protection Agency so they can fast-track construction. We're also involved in the noble struggle to turn the Rocky Mountains into California without turning it into California. So they're not good people, but he's addicted to gambling. You need to meet some of the other colorful folk from his town. So I think we've already seen a little bit about this land developer guy. Oh, he's a country club developer. There's a land developer and a country club developer. And the wife is, going to like the shooting range with its assault rifle and stuff like that. She sleeps with her rifle and camo gear and boots on. She is all nuts. How gross she is right there. So anyways, this van comes speeding into their neighborhood and smashes into the fence between his house and that Mormon neighbor's house. And all these people come speeding out. I'm just kind of setting this up. This first issue is just the setup for the story, so I'm not too worried about spoiling it. I want you to want to get it, so you kind of got to see what the first issue's like. All those people were basically being smuggled from probably Mexico or somewhere. So he's standing with the neighbor, talking about insurance claims. Now we start to follow the neighbor for the last few pages. He works for this real estate guy. Looks like a real dick as well. And he has to go out to meet this country club guy to help him develop some land. And in order to get this guy's business, they got to take him out, or whatever they got to do. I can't remember what happened exactly, but that's where they leave it. So really cool. The Mormon guy is actually a killer. And the guy with the shitty family is actually a good guy. So we're going to follow this and see where it goes. I really enjoyed that comic quite a bit. So that's American Caper #1 from Dark Horse. Okay, so the older comic, it's not super old, that I read that I liked the most. This is from 2016. That's not old at all. I feel like old comics are like from at least before I was born. That classifies as old. This is a comic that my buddy Nate gave me for free in a package he sent me a little while back. I bought some stuff from him from eBay. Ted McKeever's Pencilhead #1. I'd never heard of this series before. It's absolutely great. It's from Image, and it's from this Shadow line, which I believe is the Jim Valentino imprint, and I have gotten almost nothing from Shadow line over the years, and the few things I have got, I did not like. But I do love Ted McKeever, what little bit I've read of him, and this was a really cool comic. So it's kind of a little bit of a autobio type of situation with him as a cartoonist. And his first sequence here, he's drawing, he breaks his pen nib, and he's going to get another one. There's little monsters creeping in through the window. It's a pretty sweet monster. And it turns out he's just having a bad dream, falling asleep at the drawing table. So he's got to meet his deadline. He goes in to talk to his pissed off boss. And he submits some pages. He goes to get his paycheck, and then he flips out when he gets only one comp copy of his comic. He gets his comp copy, and he gasps in horror as he realizes that they filled his panels with all these sound effects that he never had put in there. And he's super pissed about it. So he goes back in to confront the guy, and he's just really sick of working for these jobs, wants to do his own thing. So he goes to meet up with his other artist buddy, who's this guy right here, and he eats his lunch every day, his usual burger, Billy Burger Deluxe, at this strip club called Billy's Topless, where the women are all super gross. This one's just doing jumping jacks for no reason. And so so Ted McKeever character rolls up to his friend, and his friend asks him if he wants a bite of his burger, and he's like, "No, I don't want a bite," and he smashes the burger out of his hand and it goes flying. This is so random. The stripper that was like, I'll show you the one who's doing this weird headstand thing right there with the real saggy boobs. This random chunk of burger just flies into her open mouth and then causes her to choke, and she just dies. And they're like, "Oh shit," and wing, they zip out of there. So they like run for it, and they accidentally killed this stripper. So now they're just kind of rolled back to his place, and they're looking at comics. And then we've got the detective, who's this really weird guy whose head is halfway inside his shirt. He's super, super short. You can barely see over the steering wheel. He's like, "My booster seat's still in Pool's car." And then this monster thing that was in his dream keeps appearing in waking life. So maybe it was not a dream. And he goes onto the subway, and he's like looking around. And he's like, "Yeah, I'm getting ideas for characters for my next comic just from these people on the subway. Especially this guy." This art is really great. I just love this art. Yeah, this guy's playing a broken clarinet. Anyways, he's walking home, and you can see the monster coming up again. That's where it leaves it. So I want to get the rest of these issues. I did look on Lone Star, and they were not actually that cheap. So thank you, Nate, for hooking me up with this first one. But I have to do some digging to find the next one. I'm going to try to kind of move fast through the rest of them. Those were the ones I liked the most. I wanted to share the most with you about the stories. The rest I'm going to just kind of show the pictures and talk a little bit about it. So issue 2 of The Last Day of H.P. Lovecraft came out. Writer Romuald Giulivo, don't know. Jacob Rebelka is the artist. And this issue has the same beautiful art as issue 1. And it was not as engaging of a story. It was mostly about how H.P. Lovecraft's wife that he had for a short time comes to visit him in the hospital as he's dying. But then she kind of takes him on a journey, like through memory. Is he delirious and imagining this? It's kind of weird. It's hard to follow, but the art is fucking gorgeous. It's just extremely nice art. So this is definitely one of my new favorite artists. So just unlike issue 1, it didn't have as much of an easy to follow story. It was just kind of more of them talking about things from their past, and there's a bunch of text with like a letter he wrote to his mom after she had died. Actually, it does sort of change the plot towards the end, where we get Harry Houdini, which I believe had some kind of relationship with Lovecraft. He pops up in the mix for a little bit. But I think this is all just in the mind of Lovecraft while he's dying. I think he's just remembering things and having some, delirium-based visions and stuff. Another new one, Twilight Zone #2 by Tom Scioli. And this was fun. Can't say it was like an extremely great story, but his art's cool. I liked some of his other art styles that he's explored before a little bit more than this style. It's all from pencil, I think. But it's cool. So it's these astronauts go to this, not astronauts, I don't know, space travelers. It's totally sci-fi. They go to this world and that they think is uninhabited, and they do find life. And then the life starts becoming more and more dangerous to them as they start getting attacked by different creatures. So this comic kind of has like the reversal of what you would expect maybe a story like this to have. I think that's sort of the Twilight Zone twist of this one. A lot of times you might expect it to be a thing where people go to a planet and the aliens seem nice and then they turn out to be evil in the end. This is the opposite. This is the aliens are all scary and they imprison them and they try to escape, and there's a bunch of battles, and all the aliens look different and they're all crazy. But it turns out, as this guy explains, that they're actually doing some experiment where they want to actually try to help people, and they can shape shift and stuff like that. That's why they all look different, but that's his actual true form. And they're trying to help people with psychological problems and heal from psychological wounds and violence and become more peaceful and passive. So it's a lot of exposition in this comic explaining all this, but he basically convinces all these people that they should just stay on his planet for decades or even centuries to go through this program, which helps them. And only one guy from the crew is like, "You guys are crazy. I got to get home." So it's a weird comic. It was good, but I'm looking forward to next issue way more. Look at that Stokoe art. So #3 will be the Stokoe issue. So the one that I read here that's maybe the longest series, I talked about last week as well, or the week before, whenever it was, She Could Fly. This is the second volume, The Lost Pilots, 5 issues. I have a hard time even imagining explaining this comic to you. It reads out more like a really cool TV show with a lot of different plot threads going on at once, but it picks up right where the last series left off, and it leaves you on a cliffhanger like you got to get #3, volume 3, which I think was just available in a trade paperback. So you're just kind of picking up with the characters from the last volume. They are torturing this scientist guy to try to get information about the accelerator jetpack that he supposedly created, but it never functioned. All the while, our main character here is still having her nightmare visions of people's braces having crazy blades on them and blades in the eyeballs and stapling this girl's face. And then the guidance counselor is totally off the deep end. She's homeless, and just everything is just kind of falling apart. It's kind of a typical Act 2 in a longer running story. But she's still trying to uncover the truth about the flying woman from volume 1. It's a really good series. I should mention that. It's extremely good art, nice coloring, really well told story by Christopher Cantwell. So Christopher Cantwell did the Out of Alcatraz series that I loved so much, and I know, Terrence and other people really loved too. So, yeah, he's a good writer. Guy gets sprung from his prison that he was in, and you see the woman who got shot at the end of the first volume. Her face is not looking so hot. Little shots, flashbacks of the flying woman, what she was doing before she finished her jetpack. And then one of the main plot points for this second volume is she gets this boyfriend. this nerdy guy sees something in her that most people can't see because she has a lot of mental problems. Number 3 here. Just going to run through these quick. Anything that's absolutely a must see, that's a good page. Yeah, so pretty cool. He's test driving the new jetpack on this dummy, and then he actually makes off with the dummy up there. It's pretty sweet. Yeah, just lots of stuff happens on every page, more and more and more weaving of characters and plot lines, and it's a really good series. So highly recommend it. Just hard to know what to say about it. I'm obviously still new at this. Breaks into the place where the original Flying Woman made her jetpack. The grandma's been living down in the sewer, and she's got all these followers that are sort of like worshippers of her, and then they're getting taken down by some authorities, and she's running for it. But it's super unclear what she's doing. Oh yeah, she had someone building a like a deep sea diver suit for her, so she actually takes off into the ocean. That's a really good double page. There she is cruising down. But what she's doing or how she's doing it, it's really unclear. And then at the end of issue 4, she finally makes it out to the remaining family members of the original Flying Woman. So I won't show any of issue 5, but I mean, I did not spoil this comic series for you because you have to read it. It's just, I'm just giving the most bare basic plot points. Here's another new one, Red Book number 2. James Tynion and Michael Avon Oeming are the creators on this. It's all in this black, white, red, and blue style. The art is very good. It's not like my favorite kind of art, but it is good. It's all about UFOs, alien sightings, things like that. It's not just one story. This kind of jumps around from event to event, and a lot of this all takes place in China. So I think this series kind of explores real life alien sighting type stuff from different countries. So I think that the first issue is Russia, this one's China, and that's a really nice page right there. All based on supposed factual stuff, real accounts. So take that for what you will, but I do enjoy it. It's just fun reading. Okay, so I've got the whole series of this, but I just read the first 2. I think there's 4. I've got them over there. They're series Dangle by Lloyd Dangle. These are black and white autobio type comics. This first one is from Cathead Comics. Had these for a little while, just finally dug them out of the box. 1991, Lloyd Dangle. I really liked this first story, so I'll talk about this one, this barbecue pit. It's just funny. He lives in this apartment, decides he wants to start queuing up on the roof. So he's got the barbecue going, and this neighbor guy pops up in there and tells him, he's like, I don't know if anyone told you, but you can't do that, you know. And he's like, it's against the rules and stuff, but he doesn't listen to this neighbor because this neighbor lives right above him and right below the roof, and he's a drug dealer. So while he was talking to the guy, the place catches on fire a little bit. So here's the drug dealer with all the people up in his place, and they're smoking crack and stuff. Anyways, he decides he's just going to start queuing all the time. So he's getting porterhouses and, what did he say? Ribs, Louisiana hot links. You could feel the fat seizing up his arteries. But the vector currents drove my neighbor and his friend and his crackhead friends crazy because the smoke would suck right into his window. So while he's trying to sell drugs and do drugs, the whole place getting filled with smoke. he retaliated with the Haitian voodoo technique of hanging an enormous stuffed toucan outside my kitchen window. Their encounters in the hallway started getting worse. He's imagining him looking all weird and shows him bringing in a whole pig, or it's a cow. And then you hear this other thing. Meanwhile, the downstairs neighbors were a sweet young family, inoffensive in every way but one. They threw their sacks of dirty diapers into the hallway for a diaper service pickup. The diaper service went on strike, and with the windows all bolted shut, the methane fumes from the baby shit accumulated and became intense. And then the neighbor is getting all wavy. He's like, is he barbecuing up there again? It smells like baby shit in here. I better smoke another rock. And then he's like, ha 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 ha, burn, baby, burn. And the methane gas mixed with the barbecue smoke and created some kind of explosion. I don't think that could actually happen, but it's pretty funny. So I'm not going to go into any more detail about these stories, but they're funny. The art's cool. It's not the best autobio comics, but it is good. There's a really long one in here called Tides of Freedom about how he became a paste-up guy for a leftist litmus. What is it? Anyway, some kind of political magazine, and they want him to go get a bunch of photos of terrible things happening. And it goes on and goes on. There's all kinds of crazy characters and stuff holding him back from getting the correct photos. And then eventually the fall of the Berlin Wall changes the entire thing. And the photos were for nothing. It's funny. It's clever. It's got really super cool cartoony art. There's a story in issue 2 I think is really worth checking out, that we'll take a look at issue 2 before we move on here. So the first one was Cathead, then it switched to Drawn in Quarterly. And really nice cover on this one, 93. So that's an inside cover with some color. And there's a pretty good story about being from Detroit and how grouchy everyone is there. And okay, so this one's pretty funny because it's wordless. I almost just want to wait to show it until I can read the next issue because it's a to be continued. But he's doing a painting. He's pouring his heart and soul into it, and he's ripping his heart out and putting in the energy from his heart right on the canvas. And he gets a fax from his sweet fax machine there. And he goes over and he's like, oh, this is looking like shit, but I gotta bring in the bread and butter, and it's, that's how I make my living. So he answers the phone all polite, and they send him a fax, and they're like, you're late on the deadline for this painting, which is just a painting of some beans for some advertisement, I think. So he's like, oh shit, I got to deliver it. So he gets an idea. He's going to hire a bike messenger to deliver his fragile package. So he's packaging it all up, trying to get it into this package, and gets the idea, I'm going to get the bike messenger. So he calls the bike messenger shop. The guy's like, no, man, I can't help you. As all of his dudes are hurt. They're all broken legs and stuff from bike accidents. So he's like, oh shit. All his dreams go up in clouds of broken bike. So he's like, time's running out. I got an idea. He gets his bike out of the closet, straps on some shorts, pumps up the tires, lifts the bike up, feeling his big muscles kicking in, goes downstairs to find these guys spraying some toxic stuff. What do they got there? Hylac, an asbestos can, and they've got respirators and stuff, except for this guy who doesn't, who's drinking and smoking. Anyway, so he's coming through, and they're like, no bikes allowed around here. So he's like, eat shit. And they're like, fuck you, and we're going to kick your ass, and I'm going to chop you into pieces. So all of a sudden it switches back to color again. Really random. And he's running out there with his bike. These guys are hot on his trail. Blasts through the door. They're all chasing after him, but he's got on his bike. He's like, you guys are dicks. He's like, I'm getting out of here. I'm going to go deliver my piece. He's racing through the town. The dog's thinking of some steak. And all of a sudden this bicyclist is waving him down. He stops. It's like, you can't do it, man. There's a roadblock and there's been an ambulance in the way. Somebody fell in a hole. You got to go on a detour. And he's like, no. So that's where it leaves off. So I'm really looking forward to finishing that one up. It's pretty good. The sob story is all about his dad and how he used to get injured and get beat up and get in fights all the time when he was a kid. It's pretty good. This random letter somebody wrote in here saying, is Daniel Clow's dangle available in Portland, Oregon? If not, please send a mail order information. And so he drew a little Dan Clow's as character with Dan Clow's writing, what a douche. He thought, this guy that wrote in thought that Dan Clow's did the dangle comic. So here is a super hardcore new comic that is called Devil on My Shoulder, and I really like this comic. I know Damien had a little bit of a hard time with this one because of the nature of the first segment of this comic, but it is the setup to the comic, so I'm going to show it off. It does have a warning right on page 1 here. This is Kyle Starks doing something a lot more dark than that wrestler comic I showed earlier. And then Peter Kowalski on the art. So those are the guys that did the Where Monsters Lie series from Dark Horse. 3rd volume coming soon, Kickstarter style. So this woman washes up on this beach, then it goes to the backstory. She's just at work, and these guys are waiting outside, and they abduct her for no reason whatsoever. These young boys abduct her, take her into this barn, and just proceed to torture her for months. They name her dog shit, and they beat her up. It's horrific, and it's terrible what they do, but it's a revenge comic. So you gotta really feel for the person and want them to get revenge. So after all these horrible things happen to her, they finally kill her and dump her body, but she didn't die. So that's cool. So yeah, they set her on fire and they threw her into the harbor. Put her in the hospital, and she's super fucked up, but she still just jets. She does not want to be in there. She has only one purpose now, even though she is totally freaked out. She goes to some church somewhere, I believe, and they find her in there. And then you know so now time has passed, and all the guys the reason they kidnapped her and tortured her was to steal all of her money, which they supposedly did, and now they're living the high life on it. And now she is gonna come back and take some revenge. So goddamn, I love a good revenge action story, and I do like that creative team, so I'm looking forward to the rest of that. So newish, but not brand new. I've been reading through some of the Barbarics that I had not read yet. So the Harvest Blades was the one that came after the first volume, and I read it out of order. I didn't realize that was the second thing, but I'm not even going to open that one up because it wasn't that good. But the second volume was called Axe to Grind. I do like this series. I think it's pretty cool. I don't have a lot to say about it. This volume, he's got some more helpers. He's got his old friend who's a vampire, and he's got the magician girl with the tattoos that can turn into weapons. But this whole arc is about this one crazy bad orc guy coming back. And it was somebody that he had experience with in the past, had a big skirmish with in the past. And so now they're reconvening to figure out how to take him down. This guy right here. So it's an action comic. It's a barbarian comic. He's got a talking axe that gets drunk off of the blood of his victims. In case anyone doesn't know, the whole conceit of this is the main character was a barbarian who did evil barbarian type stuff until he was cursed by these witches who made him have to go do good, and his talking axe forces him to go help people that need help. So he's actually a good guy now, and his axe, even though his axe is evil and bloodthirsty, his axe, whose name is Axe, just exists to help him continue to do good. And he is immortal. His name is Owen, and the girl's name is Soren, and the new guy's name is Steel, the vampire guy. So they're bloody. The thing about this is it doesn't use the terminology like you get in Conan and stuff, where it's kind of sounds old-timey. These guys are talking like almost just like it would be today. They're talking in a very modern lexicon. Why does everyone want to do those giant swords now with the little gem in them? I feel like Donny Cates did that on God Country, and now everybody does it. So yeah, the art is definitely digital, and I'm not as into stuff that looks digital, but these are fun. I like them. Violent, funny. I mean, the main reason why one of the main irritants for me with digital stuff is when somebody very clearly just copy and pastes a face over and over. And I know that they did that before the digital thing. I know they could do that with Photostat, is what it's called. But I don't know. It's just kind of annoying. They just like copy it and they change one little thing and then they copy it again. And I don't know. So anyways, moving on. Here is a new comic that I just randomly decided to take a chance on called CyberArchy from Mad Cave. Creators I've never heard of before. Matthew Hardy writer, Clark Bint artist. And this is definitely digital art too. Maybe not. It has a digital feel to it, but it has very, very nice line work. And I know sometimes it's impossible to tell these days what's what. But it's about these robots, and all people have been gone for eons. It's kind of a weird page because I think you have to kind of turn it this way to read that part. But then maybe it goes that way for one of the panels. Weird. Basically, the idea here is this robot created this little robot. It looks big just because he's in the foreground. And he's explaining everything about their world and how their world is going to be ending. And it's like going to end in 24 hours. And the little robot who's just been born basically is like, how long is that? And they're like, well, we judge that based on the clock of this nearest planet. And it's like thousands of years. But so 24 hours to them is going to be a really, really long time. That's a really good image. Really like that one. Nothing about this really made me go, oh yeah, I gotta follow this comic. Except for I did really enjoy the artwork. It was really cool. I mean, not super into robots, but I got nothing against robots. And what really made me go, yeah, maybe I will keep following this, was the ending of this issue. So, spoiler alert. The end of this issue, something happens and he gets pissed and he smashes the little robot he just created. And he was like, every single time, the little robot's name was Ash. He's like, start fabrication on Ash 157888694. Note increased compliance in Ash 1588693, but still that same bug. I will eradicate it. After all, we're not going anywhere. So he's trying to make sure that they don't leave, because the little character wanted to figure out a way to get away from the danger that was going to eradicate them, but he obviously wants everyone to die. Anyway, the cover for issue 2 looked awesome. It said bugs coming in issue 2, bugs. Let me see that. So depending on what else I'm getting that week, I might grab that one up. All right, stepping back in time again for incredible artwork. I read the second volume of ABC Warriors. This is a trade that was a collaboration from DC and 2000 AD. So these all ran in 2000 AD. Originally, I grabbed out my volume 1 just to show the first one. It's called The Magnificent Seven. So it's Pat Mills created this this comic, ABC Warriors, within the pages of 2000 AD. And this first one had art by Kevin O'Neill, Brendan McCarthy, Dave Gibbons, and Mick McMahon. And I read this recently and absolutely loved it. And I was happy that I had this one on the shelf right next to it to bust out. Because this comic, as far as I know, is the first published work of Simon Bisley. And it's incredible. It also has art by someone named SMS that I have no idea what the deal is with them. And in the bios in the back, SMS gets almost nothing. But ABC Warriors are these robots as well, and I could just not say a damn thing about this and show you the art, and that's really all that matters. The art is so good, and I'm going to just look down while I talk and try to flip to some of the absolute most choicest of pages. It's pretty fun to see, this one's dated 87, to see just in the course of this trade paperback, which I don't know how long this would have spanned in real time in their weeklies, but you see his art develop a lot throughout just this one volume. And I think this is all the ABC Warriors that Bisley did. But it is extremely good art, and the only real criticism I have with this book is that it is printed way too small. Just way too small. It's like the size of a normal comic, but a tiny bit wider. This, like Nemesis, it just needs to be printed like original size. Like, you need artist edition sizes to really appreciate the detail. There's so much fucking detail in these pages that gets lost because of this tiny artwork. So this is some of that SMS art right here. And his style actually even changes throughout this as well, I noticed. It's quite a bit different. So that's SMS. Let's keep going and get some more of this Bisley. Yeah, like even that was really different. This SMS still. Okay, so now we're getting back to Bisley territory. And just the second half of this has just got so many good pages. Yeah, like this switches back to SMS, and that looks way different. And more SMS. All these characters are very unique. It's a really dark storyline. Definitely a lot of crossover with the Nemesis world. These exist in the same continuity, basically. So I'm sure if you want to know all about the ABC Warriors, you could look on YouTube and certainly find people who have gone into great detail about the characters. I'm not going to try. Just soak in the art. Super duper badass art. Right at the end here, there's just some panels that blew my fucking mind. So Bisley was bringing it from the start. I believe right after this he did Slain in the painted style. Just to see how he was already so comfortable in both the pen and the paint. So pick up that. It's called The Black Hole, if you get the chance. All right, we're almost done here. Red Minor Arcana 12. Still loving it. Keeping that going. Started dipping back into my mysteries. I have the full run of this. I guess I'd only read the first 17, so they had gotten misplaced somewhere. They were like if you see, not here because this is actually the middle of two shelves, but you see how there's a divider right there, and oh, you can't see that one. Anyways, there's spacers that because of the weight. So my friend who made this, he basically made it so that if I wanted to, I could have all magazine boxes, because each one of these fits 3 magazine boxes. But when you put 3 normal boxes side by side, you have a gap where you could almost fit another box. And if that divider wasn't there, you could fit another box there. But the divider is there, but it doesn't go all the way back. So I can fit a short box behind these divider things. Basically, they look like this, but it was trapped back there, like between boxes behind one of those divider things. So that was where my mysteries were, and I stumbled across them. Next, Kaiju Max number 3. I like that Ryan Brown cover, but I don't know if this series is totally for me. So many characters to keep track of. Wasn't capturing me as much with this 3rd issue. Just getting a little bit hard to follow. I have so many great comics to read. That's probably not going to be one that I continue to pursue, but I am going to read the first 5 that I have. So I read The Demon number 0. This actually should have been just the next issue. I think it should be basically issue 52. But because of DC's dumb 0-hour event thing, they had to make it issue 0. But what Garth Ennis did with this was, leading into this issue, he had the previous issue, Merlin comes back, and Jason Blood, who can't remember any of his life from when he became the demon, or became one with the demon Etrigan, and the current time period, it's all like those memories are lost to him. Merlin can cast a certain spell that's going to allow him to remember all of those things, and he doesn't really want him to remember because a lot of it is atrocities and stuff that he committed. So this is the issue where Jason Blood finally gets to learn what all those things were that he did, and it's like right from the first page he's losing his mind. So the majority of this issue, which is art by John McCrea, is going back through Jason Blood's history and showing all kinds of stuff that he did throughout time. So it kind of makes sense as a 0 issue in the sense of like somewhat of his origins, I guess, but it's still not really framed that way. It falls right in the continuity between 51 and 52. So it didn't have the standout art from most of these demons, but it is a good issue, and it's crucial that you read that at that time in the chronology. Read the Nam 46. Wasn't super great issue on that one. Read Punisher 71. Always love Punisher. This is a really basic one though. Nothing real special happened in there. And then let's end off on some older stuff. So I read most of this Ghostly Tales number 140. I just need to still finish the last story, which is a Ditko story. I guess this is probably one of the more desirable issues. Seemed to be one that goes for more. Mine's in bad shape and stuff, but whatever. What a fucking sloppy cover that is, though. It looks cool from afar. You look close and you're like, really? That's what you're cranking out? Ooh. So Charlton, not so sure. Although I did show off a Charlton comic. If you haven't checked out my Reptosaurus video, you should check that out. So this only the second story in here. I only read the first 2. The second one was pretty good art. It's Revenge of the Dead. Pirates and witches and stuff like that. Sharks grabbing people. Yeah, just good art, fun story. I read almost all of this heavy metal. I picked this one up. This is from Daryl D. And I picked this particular issue because look at that Christmas-themed cover. I was really hoping for a Christmas story in here, and there was not one. That cover is really great. Olivia, I believe, is the cover artist on that one. So I read this like a week or two ago, so I'm trying to remember what this all was about. But, oh yeah, Scarlet Mummy by Sycamoro. Super, super nice art on this one. The story didn't have a lot of depth to it. It was just slow moving, kind of mummy, trying to figure out they're transporting this mummy. Yeah, it's just a lot of kind of this stuff until you finally get into the tomb. Boy, this is one of the mustiest smelling comics I've ever smelled. But yeah, the fucking art is just dynamite on this. So I don't know anything about this Sycamoro guy. But he paints a pretty picture, that's for sure. And some pretty boobs. All right. Oh yeah, that's a pretty cool one. Okay, I'm just gonna jump forward. This one was really long, 51 pages. Got a little stuff from Drew Friedman in here. And then there's this Miguel Angel Prado story. Hey, mister, can you spare $1? Wasn't too into that one. Or it's not very long. Or it's just like that. This one was fun. Who did this? Deadly Medley. Deadly Medley by Daniel Torres. This interesting character with the motorcycle. Rescuing this young girl from some bad guys. Very simple story, but really fun art. I'm tired, guys. I'm trying my best here, but this is probably not a very good video. Anyways, just look, that's where I left off. We'll just call it good on that. And then, I'm not going to talk about this much, but read this House of Mystery Treasury. I do have to say with these, with this pseudo newsprint, this is just this dry paper. I don't really like it. For one, it just makes this comic bunch out like really wide like that. It's like hard to get it even back into the bag. But they did a great job on the recoloring, and this was a really great comic. So we have a Jack Sparling story right at the front, House of Gargoyles. This one was not my favorite, and somewhat surprised they started out with this one, but it was a longer story. There is a ton of Kane's Game Room, Sergio Aragones pages in here, which is always nice. All right, then we start up a Bernie Wrightson, and this one is early Wrightson from the look of it, probably from one of his first appearances in House of Mystery. And I recall reading this story in the original issue, so it's in House of Secrets or House of Mystery. Thinking House of Mystery since that's what this is, but I think I have it. I have a handful of those early House of Secrets, that's for sure, and some House of Mysteries that are early. So it's Wrightson. It's great. You know it's great. Okay, more Kane's Game Room. Now we have an early Neil Adams and inked by Joe Orlando, The Widow's Walk. So there's another Neil Adams at the end that's far better art than this one. I mean, Joe Orlando is great, but this one didn't really pop, you know? The story wasn't that cool. But some of these stories are really great. So it's a whole bunch of little games and strips by Sergio in the middle, which are really fun. Here's like a how to draw and how to color Sergio House of Mystery picture. You could just look at that forever. And then this little game you can play. You know, rip this page out of your comic and wrap some paper around a wooden cube and you can play this game. Like, who did that back then? Look at this badass centerfold Bernie Wrightson. Gorgeous. We got Gil Kane art with Wally Wood inks, so that's pretty good. Story about a cartoonist going into his artwork. Not my favorite premise, but it's cool. It's a good one. Hard to tell if I'm even showing this correctly on this tripod. All right. This was probably my favorite one, The Devil's Doorway. It's Alex Toth. Such a good splash page with that text is great right there. And this one is about this main character who's interested in the occult, of course, and he's at an auction and they're auctioning off this antique mirror right here, and he must have this mirror. So he gets this mirror, and suppose, you know, it's been proven that all the things in this house have been washed of their evil spirits somehow. There was some kind of religious service that, yeah, there's a religious service held here, honey, and all the evil spirits were driven from the house and its contents, meaning the mirror is perfectly harmless now. But something's going on with it, because the daughter can go inside the mirror and come back out, and keeps telling her dad when he can't find her where she's been, it's like, oh, I've been inside the mirror again. And he's like, yeah, she's making this up, she's just a little kid. Then one day he sees into the mirror and he realizes there is a portal inside of there. So he dips his head in and he steps in, and it is a portal to hell. So he's talking with the devil, and the devil wants to run his life and he's running for it. Damn it, leg's falling asleep. So he finally makes his way out and he smashes the mirror to pieces and he burns the remains. And he's having terrible nightmares and stuff of the devil. And when he wakes up, he's like, don't be frightened, but Beth has disappeared. It's been days now and the police can't find a trace. Why would you tell him don't be frightened? I was like, be hella frightened. It's been several days. He's like, Beth vanished? And he's like, no, it's not possible. When was that? It was like the day that you had your episode or whatever. So yeah, she went into the mirror while he was in there, and then he smashed it to pieces and burned it with her inside. And he's like, that can't be the scrubbed of all of its evil. And like, yeah, there it is, sir. The Turner House was exorcised in March 1866. Everything except for one item, a mirror. That was the only item not in the house that day in 66. Old Matthew Turner had sent it out to be gilded, so he's bummed out. His daughter is gone. That was a good story. The art, I just love Alex Toth. I started rereading, or not rereading, I haven't read it yet. Started reading the volumes I have of Zorro by Alex Toth. This was a really fun one. It's not very long, but this Poster Plague, all drawn by Sergio and written by Steve Skeets. And it's about a mysterious person's putting up these posters all over their school, their university, saying, what is it? Klopp is coming. And I don't know why, it's like super concerning to him that all the regular posters are getting cut up. Oh yeah, a lot of the posters that are going up are for events with dates that have already occurred, and it's like really fucking with his head about it, and it's just really random. It's just, he's super worried about it all the time and wants to figure it out, and it's just, yeah, the guy was actually trying to warn him. This giant boulder that's bigger than their school plopped down on it, and clop, that's the sound it made. All right, last one. This is the Neil Adams Nightmare story. Honestly, the story was not that great. It's just this little girl playing with Pan, but it's really good Neal Adams art. I feel like I might have the original one that this was into. So she just goes to this fantasy world and plays with him day after day, and it's her best friend, and then she's not supposed to look behind this one door, and then she does one time, and of course it takes her to this evil realm. And then Pan comes and saves her from the flames. Beautiful art. Little games on the back. All right, if you stuck in there, thank you, appreciate it, and I'll be back around Christmas with a sweet haul video of something I've been hanging on to for a little while that I'm looking forward to showing off. So talk to you then, and if I don't see you before then, Merry Christmas.